How's it going, guys? So I'm going to teach you the settings for trend entry. And so first of all, I just want to show you some results from a demo account um, and kind of tell you why I like this bot. So basically, guys, the reason I like trend entry so much is because it uses AI technology to place the correct stop loss, get sniper entries based off the trend indicator, and these are the results. So when we first started, guys, we were just testing different pairs, and the pairs that I've seen not do very well have been like CAD and NZD. So you can use those pairs, but I recommend just staying away from anything with a CAD or NZD in the pair. Not saying that they can. Oh, and crypto. So CAD, crypto, and NZD. So let's kind of go over the settings, and so when you're setting up your bot, you can kind of figure out um, what you want to do. So this is pretty much going to just be an overview of how the settings work, so you can kind of set up the bot how you would like. So what you're going to do is you're going to put trend entry over, drag it over. Now before we do that, let's talk about the time frames. Every time frame makes a significant difference. So the lower the time frame, the more trades you're going to get. The higher the time frame, the less trades you're going to get. 1 minute is going to be a lot of trades. 5 minutes is going to be a lot of trades also. 15 minutes is going to be a decent amount. You might get 5 to 10 in 1 week. But on 1 minute, you might get 5 to 10 in 1 day. And everything in between for the 5 minute. So I found that the M15 has been way more accurate. So we're going to just go based off M15. But you can demo any of these time frames. H4 barely gets any trades, but it's been pretty accurate also. So let's just go off of M15. So what you're going to do next is you're going to drag trend entry over, and you're going to put in the email your activation email, and then your lot size. And so let's talk about what lot size is. You're going to leave magic number alone. So lot size basically is going to help you determine what your lot size is going to be. So you have two options. You can do a fixed lot or an auto lot. A fixed lot is going to basically where it says fixed lot, whatever you put here is going to be your lot size. So you put 0.01, it's always going to take a 0.01. You put 0.10, it's always going to take a 0.10. If you're going to do a 0.20, it's always going to do 0.30, for example. So but we also have something called auto lot. And so how that works is it does it based off equity. So it's going to look at the stop loss that the bot puts, and it's going to look at the risk that you chose in your balance. So for example, we use $1,000 for example. So if your stop loss is 30 pips, let's say you're risking 3%. That means that if your stop loss is 30 pips, I mean, if your stop, whatever you do, you're going to pretty much lose $30 every trade, right? Because you're risking 3% every trade. So if you lost two trades, that would be $60 that you lost. But if you put 1%, that means you're risking $10 every trade. So two trades would be $20 that you lost. So the advantages of the lower one is you're losing less money. The advantage of a higher percentage is you make more money. Now, it's just whatever your stop loss is going to calculate that, and it's going to pick your lot size, so you can always lose the same amount of money. Minimum equity per trade means that if it ever reaches this balance, it's going to stop trading. So obviously, if you're trading $1,000 account, you wouldn't have this at 1,000. Maybe you want, if the bot loses $700, for example, you just want it to stop trading and reevaluate what's going on, right? Or maybe if it loses $300 or whatever, right? It's kind of up to you. So that's how you can kind of protect your account on how much you're going to lose total. Re-entry. Now, for those who aren't familiar with trend entry, this uses the trend entry strategy. So I would suggest that you go watch a video on how trend entry works in our training. But the trend entry strategy is two entry points. One is when it calls a buy or sell, and that's when the bot does the buy or sell. If a buy or sell happens and it follows the rules, it's going to take the trade. But re-entry, let's say that you're in a buy currently, Euro USD buy, and the yellow turns to green. And if you've seen the video, then you know what I mean. When the yellow turns to green, it's going to re-enter a new trade. Or if you're in a current sale and the yellow turns to red, it's going to re-enter another trade. So basically, that's what re-entry is. It's going to, if you're already in a profitable trade, it's going to re-enter into a new trade. So that's basically it for the re-entry. So if you don't want that, you can set the true. If you just wanted to take one trade and win or lose, that's fine. If you want multiple trades, set to true. So let's say that you want to be less risky, because this can be a risky setting, right? Then hit false. But you can probably make more money if you keep it on. Depends on the person, right? So we'll set this to true. I mean false for now. We'll keep it set 1,000. So use TP as risk reward ratio. So what does that mean is whatever your stop loss is going to be your take profit based off if you keep this on. So if you keep this to true and you set this to 1.0, then it's going to do 1 times the stop loss. So if the stop loss is 30 pips, it's going to be 30 times 1. So that means that your take profit is 30 pips. If you set this to 2, it's going to be 30 times 2. So your stop loss is 30. That means your take profit is 60 pips. 3 times 30. With your stop loss is 30. Your take profit will be 90 pips. So it's always going to vary depending on your stop loss. You can bring this number as high as you want. So let's assume that you're just doing 1.0, for example. We'll do 3.0 just for the heck of it. But personally, I've seen 1.0 work really, really well. Now, let's say that you turn this to false and you want a set take profit. So if you set this to true, this is going, whatever you put this is, it's going to be your take profit. So you got 10, it's going to be 10 pip take profit. If you set this to 20, it's going to be a 20 pip take profit. If you set this to 30, it's going to be a 30 take profit. If you set this to 100, it's going to be a 100 take profit. So let's assume that you're doing a 50 take profit, for example. Use high or low stop loss, keep it true. And what that basically does is it's going to look at the last low or last high, and whatever you put here, it's going to set pips below that. So let's say we did 15. That means that, let's say that you have entry candle, it's going to be 15 pips below the entry candle. But if you do set candle, and let's say you do 5, it's going to look at the last 5 candlesticks and put a stop loss below the low or the high of the last 5 candlesticks and do 15 pips below that last low or last high. So the higher you make this, the wider your stop loss will be. And the further you put the candles, the wider your stop loss is going to be. So I've done 15 and 5. Of course, you can do better. You can change it up. It just depends what you want. So let's just say we kept it at 15, set candle, and 5. Trailing enabled. Trailing enabled, if you set this to true, this goes by pips. So let's say that you chose, let's say right now we have 50 pips as our take profit set, right? And we say, you know what? At 20 pips, I want my trailing to be triggered. And I want it to move my stop loss 10 pips above break even. We'll say 8 to give it some room. And we'll say I want it to follow it by 1. So what does that mean? Oops. That means at 20 pips, move my stop loss 80 pips above the entry. So now we're 8 pips in profit with our stop. And let's say it goes from 20 to 21. That means when it goes from 20 to 21, since we're trailing by 1 pip, our stop is going to go from 8 pips to 9 pips. When it goes to 20 to 22, it's going to go from 9 pips to 10 pips. But let's say we set this to 2. That means that it's going to go from 20 pips. And so when we go from 20 to 21 pips, it's going to go from 8 to 10 pips because it's going to follow this. It's going to follow the trade by 2 pips. So let's assume you want to do 1, for example. Let's say you don't want this at all. We also have something called using trailing high and low. So if you set this to true, every time a new high or low is created, regardless of it's winning or not, it's going to move the stop. So it can be good if you have a fast moving pairs where it spikes and then creates new highs and lows. You can catch a running trade and you don't have to worry about trying to calculate how many pips it does. It's going to go off the trail. So you only need to keep either. We have 3 different ways you can manage your account. So this is one, or you can turn this to true, but never all of them true. So this could either be true or this can be true. Or you can have both of them false and have this true. So how this works is break even. Now let's say that since we have our take profit set at 50, and we have our break even set at 50%, that means at 25 pips, it's going to move our stop loss to break even because it's 50% of the trade. 25, let's say we do 25%. That means once we get 25% of 50 pips, which is 20, I think it's like what, 10, 12, something like that, 12 pips, it's going to move our stop loss to break even. So if you want to do that, or obviously if you have this set to false and you set this to true, whatever your take profit is, it's going to go by percentages of whatever your take profit is, and it's going to make it go to break even. And if you set this on, whenever break even happens, it's going to take a portion of your trade. So, for example, if we had this at 50%, for example, have this at false, and have this at the true, and let's say we have this at 50 pips. You have 50 pips take profit, break even 50%. So that means at 25 pips, take 50% of my trade. So if we're up $100, close $50 in profit, move stop loss to break even, and allow the rest of the trade to go for take profit. And that's it. So we have 3 ways you can manage your account. You can either do a break even and partial close, you can do a high to low, or you can do a trail. Now, our stop goes off of highs and lows, but maybe you want to avoid certain trades where the stop is too far. Then you put here. So let's say that you put this at 50. That means that if the stop loss is anything above 50, it will not take the trade. Very simple. Keep it to 0 if you don't care what the stop loss is. I recommend if you're doing like a set TP and a set lot size, then I can see using this because you might want to avoid a certain amount of pips. But if you're using risk to reward ratio, I would just keep it 0 because it doesn't really matter what the stop is, because it's going to factor in that auto lot is going to factor in your stop. News filter. If you want to avoid news, turn it to true. And this goes by hours. So let's say that if it's a red folder news coming up, 1 hour before the red folder news comes up, stop trading that pair. Do not trade and wait a whole hour until after the news is over to trade again. And if you have any open trades, keep it at, and it will close all trades in 20 minutes before news. You keep it at 0, it won't close any trades before news. So, pretty self-explanatory. If you don't want news filter on, hit false. Trade on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So if you don't want it to trade on one of these days, turn it off. So let's say you don't want Friday, hit false. Set time. If you don't want a certain time, so this is Asian time, right? So if you don't want this time, set it to 0.00. Set it to 0.00. Now it's only going to trade between these times and these times. And so this is London. If you don't want New York, do the same thing. If you don't want London, do the same thing. So that's how you do it. But this is how you control your times. But by default, you can just keep it alone. You leave it alone if you like. Max open trades. Let's say we have 5 trades open. Let's say we put max trades open 5. It's very self-explanatory. If 5 trades are open, it's no longer, if a 6th trade tries to open, it's not going to open because it's 5 trades max that you set. Until one of those trades closes, it's no longer going to allow a new trade to open. So that's how you control how many open trades you have at one time. Ichimoku trend filter controls, if you have this as true, it's going to filter out trades that are trending. So if the market's trending up, it's not going to look for sells, it's only going to look for buys. If the market's trending down, it's not going to look for buys, it's only going to look for sells. If you check this to false, it's going to trade no matter what. I recommend it set true. Close trades at trend change. If you set it true, if the trend changes, it will close a winning trade or a losing trade. Set it to false. So close trades at trend change. Close trades at trend change. If you set this to true, if the market changes the trends, like if it's trending up and the market starts trending down, it's going to close a losing or winning trade, and vice versa. If the market is going down and you have a sell and it starts trending up, it's going to close that trade. So you don't want that. You want to just let it go, take profit or stop loss. Hit false. Save it and hit OK, and you should see a trend entry right here. Now what you can do next is you can right click, hit templates, save template, call it default, hit save. Now whatever pairs that you want to try, you just right click and you can either drag it over, but the easiest way to do it is just hit chart window. And then once you hit chart window, for example, we'll bring up one. Let's try that one. Chart window, and boom, it automatically going to populate. If you go here to expert advising properties, you'll see all your settings. And so that's pretty much it, guys. Whatever pairs you want, just right click, chart window, and it end up right here. You can see all the different pairs that you're trying.